welcome to His and Hers. I'm Deanna, and you may have noticed we're missing his. David was not able to join us today. He was called out of town a little bit unexpectedly, so you only have hers. So you're going to have to bear with me, and um, actually, David was kind of replaced with Pixie. So you may see them pop up. She's pawing me right now, and I kept seeing her little paw popped up. So, and Lola's actually sitting right next to me over here sleeping. So they may pop up from time to time. But getting to last week's about cheating, we had a lot of great response on our last podcast. One thing that was brought up, and I can't believe we actually missed this bullet point. And I will admit, we totally missed it. Long distance relationships. Uh, we got called out for it. We missed it. A lot of people comment. Yeah, a lot of people cheat when it comes to long distance relationships and that temptation of not having someone. So great call. And yeah, I will admit we missed the mark on that one. So thank you. Um, Another thing that was brought up was we need a saying at the end of the podcast, a little like motto. Uh, I can understand that. I have a motto on my food blog. You know, it's seduction in the kitchen. Everybody has a love affair with food. So yeah, I have to agree with that. So we had to come up with that. I actually should call upon my GBF because he's the one who came up with everybody has a love affair with food because he's great at that. So we're up for suggestions of what we should say. Gotta get the wheels, the creativity going for that. So, so with that being said, oh, one more thing before we start this week's podcast. So I need to do a shout out to Go Brightline. It's a high-speed train that does from Orlando to Miami here in Florida. They actually heard our first podcast when we were talking about the alpha male and how David likes to do spa treatments and all that. Actually, they offered us a really great little thingy about doing a little trip down to Miami at the hotel, aka Brick House, I believe it is. If not, I will correct it on the next podcast or when we actually do it too. Giving him a day at the spa with overnight treatment on Good Brightline. So thank you. And we'll do a very special podcast on the hotel and the train, how a man can pamper himself. So that look for that very soon. And on that note, let's get to this week's episode. As you notice, I had titled it "Stop Playing Victim." The original episode, me and David had planned. I actually really need him here, so I had to carry it this week's by myself. I thought, let me do a subject I think I can do by myself. And I had talked to David previously a while ago about, hey, this sounds like it would be a good podcast. And more I've thought about, like, I really think this is a subject I can talk about by myself, since I don't have his commentary to bounce off of. Just Pixie and Lola's, and they don't offer much feedback other than, as you see, they're just laying here. Pixie finally just went over that way. So let's talk about victims. Now you're probably thinking, what the hell is Deanna talking about? Because when you think of the word victim, you think someone's been in a crime, right? At least that's what I think of when somebody goes, oh, she's a victim. Wow, what crime were they in? You know, were they robbed? Were the police involved? Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind, right? No, that's not what I'm talking about. Anymore with the way things are, everybody tends to be a victim. Everybody's a victim, or a victim of something. With nobody takes accountability for anything. Everything is somebody else's fault. Everything is going on. It's just how things are anymore. Nobody takes blame for anything. Nobody's allowed to defend themselves. Everything's somebody else's fault. Oh, media. Let's take the media. Something happens. They just overplay it over and over and over again. I mean, how many times we'll see something happen on the media? Like, oh my God, oh, it's shocking. Okay? Yeah. There's no doubt about it. It'll be a shocking event. 2 days later, they're still talking about it. A week later, it's still being talked about. Like it just happened that day. 3 weeks later, they're still talking about it. It gets overplayed so much. They're like, it's a month later. We're still talking about this? Didn't that happen like a month ago? They overplay stuff so much. They sensationalize it so much. And it's just shoved down our throats that they play like it's this huge event. It was at that moment. But now it's old. But they got to keep playing it over and over and over again because they got to keep reminding us and reminding us and reminding us until the next big thing happens. And it's not just like the news, it's anything that somebody decides is important. Let's take, all right, woke, being woke. Everybody knows about, like in the movies and, television and all that. Everything is woke now. We have to have a balance, Everything has to be ethnically diverse. You have to have, the gay, the lesbian, transgender. Everything is just so politically correct. There is no like actual entertainment. It has to be politically correct. And it's like, okay, now the script makes no sense. It took away from like maybe if it's based on a book, let's say, and it makes no sense because it's no longer based on that book because Superman wasn't transgender, for example. I'm just using that as an example. You're like, huh? That's not what the comic book was. This makes no sense. Who's the victim? The comic book or us as the audience? We're now victims of everything. We lost the entertainment value of enjoying something that we actually liked. Or is it the transgender? They're also the victims too, because you're trying to portray this culture, but you're doing it in the wrong way. Don't use something that is not. Do it in a way that is more benefit to them, not use Superman. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't force things. David always uses an example of John and Freddie Mercury. He always, Elton John, he was gay. He was flamboyant on stage, Freddie Mercury, flamboyant on stage. They were obviously gay. Nobody cared. They were entertaining. It was great. It was awesome. I always say, look at Liberace. The man was obviously gay, but nobody cared. Nobody cared. It wasn't shoved down people's throats like it is now. And that's why the entertainment value of the movies is just like, Disney, their last couple movies have not been doing well because they've made the movies so woke that it actually lost its entertainment values. So again, who's the victim here? us as an audience because we're being forced to watch this stuff? Or is it Disney because they're losing money because they were trying to force this entertainment on us because they're trying to push this agenda? Who's the victim? The answer, we all are a victim because we're being forced into things. Let's move on. Let's move on to education. You know, there's a meme that goes around. It's from like the 60s. It's a parent and a teacher and a child. And the child's failing school. And yelling at the student, you know, you need to focus. It's your fault. You don't pay attention. Then they go to the next panel and it's today. And it's the parents and the student yelling at the teacher. It's your fault. You don't focus. You're the reason he's failing at school. The roles reverse. At one point, it was the student's fault for failing at school because they didn't focus, they didn't do the homework. Now it is the teacher's fault that the student is not focused and he didn't do his homework. We like to place blame everywhere but at ourselves. We like to, is basically how I always interpret that little comic. Everybody likes to blame everybody else but themselves. The parents then blame the student because the kid wasn't focused. Now they're blaming the teacher. So who's the victim? Is it the student because he doesn't do his homework? Or is it the parents because they don't force the kid to do the homework? Or is it the teacher because he can't go home with the kid to make them do the homework? Well, let's look at this another way. A coworker of mine was telling me the other day that she got this letter sent home that her daughter gave her, that she has to buy reams of paper for the teacher because the teacher has been buying reams of paper because the school district isn't giving them reams of paper anymore. And in order for her to print off class assignments, she has to go and buy her own paper. And it was asking them to buy reams of paper so that she can print off these homework assignments. You know, when I was a kid, my parents never got letters like this. I remember, and trust me, we grew up on a budget. I was a latchkey kid, so trust me, money was tight. And I know my parents did not get letters like this. They bought us our pens, our pencils, backpack, Trapper Keeper, if you remember Trapper Keepers. And that was it. We didn't buy supplies for the teacher to give out to other students so that they can do their work. That never existed. But anymore, I'm hearing more and more of my friends, like how they get these letters out. They have to buy supplies so the teachers can hand out for the students to do work. So teachers always claim they don't have supplies, so they have to buy it out of their own. They have to buy the supplies because the school district doesn't give them the supplies. If you ask the school district, why don't you give them the supplies? Well, budget cuts. Well, why do you have budget cuts? Well, state funding. We'll say, why? State funding. They're not getting the money because of the economy. It's one big blame game again. Everybody's blaming everybody else. Therefore, everybody's now a victim. We're all victims. State because of the economy because of the government. It's just one big vicious cycle again. Everybody's blaming everybody else. We're all victims. But nobody takes responsibility. Nobody. It's just like every day. How many times have we all heard, oh my God, groceries are so high? You know, it's this economy, it's this, it's the presidency, it's this, it's that. Everybody's blaming everybody else. We're all victims. We're all victims. We just like to blame everything. Everybody blames everything. How did we get to this point where we just blame, 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 blame? Just it amazes me that we just like to blame. We're just victims. And it's getting to the point where we're so oversaturated with this victim mentality where we're just blaming everything that the term victim is becoming a throwaway term. And what I mean by that is, let me give you some examples here. You know, getting back to the children. I'm going to go to bullying here. When a kid is getting bullied, what do we teach them? Stand up for yourself. Don't take that. You stand up for yourself and fight back. But when an adult gets bullied, you know what we do? Ignore it. Swallow it. Walk away. Just leave it alone. Don't. Just don't. We cut it down. So what we teach as a child, we don't do as an adult. Why is that? Why do we cow down as an adult? But we teach a kid to stand up, but as an adult, we don't. Kind of weird, isn't it? So, because we do that, when something is going on, and I've heard this from a lot of people, and I will admit myself, I don't like confrontation. I tend to be passive. So when things are going on, I just hope it goes away. I just, just hope it goes away. I ignore it and I keep quiet. But when I do try to stand up for myself, you know what I got told? Stop playing victim. Stop playing victim. I'm trying to defend myself. And I'm being told, stop playing victim. I actually got told this a few times. And actually, because I'm not afraid to admit this, but I was going through a bout of depression. I saw a therapist, and I asked her, do I have victim mentality? Because I had been told, stop playing victim. Because I was trying to defend myself. And you know what she said to me? You don't have victim mentality. Victim mentality is when somebody enjoys attention and they'll use, let's say, for example, they have like surgery. And it's like a simple surgery. Say they had like carpal tunnel, okay? And carpal tunnel, you're out like, 3 or 4 weeks, for example. And it's 6 months later. Like, oh, I can't move my wrist. I had that surgery. I can't. Oh, can you open the lid for me? Because they love the sympathy they got for the first week or so of the surgery. So 6 months later, they're still doing it. That's victim mentality, as it was explained to me. They just relish that attention that they got. So they make themselves always a victim. I don't have that. And she said the problem when somebody says stop being a victim when you're trying to defend yourself, it's basically a throwaway term. What it is they don't want to hear your side of the story. They've already made their mind up. They don't want to hear any excuses. They don't want to hear it. They're done with it. Okay, so by saying stop being a victim, it's a throwaway term. It's kind of like the term, oh, it's my OCD. And, like say you're putting away silverware for someone and you don't put it in the right spot. And somebody goes, oh my God. And they just come back and they rearrange it and they say, I'm sorry, it's my OCD. The truth is, they don't have OCD. What they're really saying is, look, This is my way. I'm not changing it. I like things the way they are, and you just screwed it up. Saying, it's my OCD sounds a lot nicer than that. So by saying, stop playing victim is a lot nicer way of saying, I don't want to hear your side of the story. I've already made my mind up, and I'm not listening to you. So stop being a victim is now a throwaway term because we've been so victimized, not to sound like an oxymoron, by everybody not taking blame for everything and being oversaturated by everything, by the media, by social media. Wait a minute, social media? Now, how is social media making us victims? Good question. Social media is interesting. It can make or break you. Social media is all what you put into it, right? Social media mostly is fake. Now you're like, wait a minute, what? Yeah. What you see on social media most of the time isn't real. People put on social media what they want you to see. You think everybody has the perfect life, like, oh, I'm in Bahamas, oh, I'm in... 99% of the pictures on there have filters. Even the people that say, oh, I never use a filter, they use filters. One thing I've learned, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed, like, on Facebook groups, people that, like, first people that cry the loudest, yell, oh my God, people that use filters, oh my God, they look so fake because they use so many fake filters. Look at their Facebook photo and tell me if they're not using a filter, because most likely they are. Even if it's just a little, devil ears or a heart or what, that's a filter. No, it's not. It's just a little heart. It's a filter. Hello, it's a filter. Anything you apply is a filter. Is technically the definition. But anyway, and with AI now, I showed somebody AI. You can't even tell a real image from a fake image anymore. The AI is so good. There is so much fakeness on Facebook that it's unreal. And Facebook is a good ground for gossip. How many times somebody has posted something like a picture and it gets misunderstood? Yeah, I have seen where people have put this little innocent little photo up, and next thing you know, people are like, oh my God, I heard you were in Tahiti. Like, when did I go to Tahiti? Well, you posted a picture of you in Tahiti. No, I didn't. I posted a picture of me sitting on my back porch, and I have a palm tree in my backyard. Again, you're a victim of social media gossip. Oh, it's amazing. And then when you try to trace the source of how this all started, it's all because somebody was bored and saw a picture and decided to just start some crap. It's amazing. We're all victims of something. So it stands to question, if we're all victims, who's the bully? That's an easy answer there. We all are. We're both a victim and we're both the bully because we're guilty of both. Because we're the first to pick on something. We're the first to nitpick. We're the first to criticize. We're the first to do whatever. But we're also the first to not allow somebody to defend themselves. We're the first to cow down. We're the first not to help. again with social media, something's going on. Like, say somebody falls down a flight of steps. You pick up the camera and you're filming it because you want to put it on TikTok. Shouldn't you be helping the person? That's the society we are living in now. So who's the victim there? Because we want to put a nice little video up on TikTok because we're going to get a lot of likes and laughs. Or is it the person that actually just fell down and got hurt and nobody bothered to help them get up? It's actually both, because we created a society where this is now the new normal and we accepted it. That's the problem. We're all victims because we create this and we accept it. Nobody stands up. Nobody's allowed to defend themselves. We have to label everything. How did we get to this point? That's the question. Why did we get to this point? That's the other question. You know, technology is great. Everybody says, oh, it's technology. Is it? Oh, it's because, you know, the complacency. It's the younger generation. Not just the younger generation. We're guilty of it ourselves. You know, we're the older generation. We do it too. We all do. I mean, come on. How many times we sat there and we're complaining about groceries being so high? And that's the first thing we do. Oh my God, groceries are so high. But you're still going out and getting the groceries. So guess what? They're going to stay high. Oh, somebody should just boycott it. Really? We're all victims. So at what point do we stop playing victim? We don't. That's the problem. We don't stop playing victim. And we probably never will stop playing victim. But what we can do is stop overplaying the word victim. Because, like I said, it's now become a catchphrase where we're really not victims. We're just makers of our own world that we became in. Because victim is somebody of a crime. And if somebody tries to defend themselves, we shouldn't call them, say, stop playing victim. We should hear them out. And instead of blaming a teacher because a child didn't do his homework, maybe we should look at the situation and say, why didn't you do your homework? Well, because I wanted to play my video game. Well, maybe the parents should let the kid play the video game and tell him to do his homework instead of blaming a teacher who can't be there at home with the kid. Maybe we need to start looking at situations instead of automatically telling somebody that they're a victim, making them a victim. Maybe we need to start doing stuff like that instead of just blaming everybody. It's easier said than done. Because, let's face it, nobody likes change. Actually, change is good. Change we should embrace. But change is difficult. And not everybody wants to do it. That's the problem. So, with that in mind, and thank you for letting me ramble on by myself. So what's your thoughts? Should we stop playing victim? And start taking some accountability on things? And start opening our minds? And start looking at situations? And start listening and observing? Or should we just stay in this constant circle of just blaming everybody else and stay in our little boxes? I don't know. Personally, I like to open my mind and observe. I think that's the better option. Because I personally don't like being told, stop playing victim. I don't like being forced into things. I like to be a fighter. That's just my opinion. What's yours? Are you tired of playing victim? What's your thoughts? All right. So hopefully I didn't bore you too much. And hopefully David is back next week. He will be. So with that in mind, thank you again for watching his and hers, and we will see you